One of the biggest scams we got here in terms of working for somebody is the tipped workers. I would love to touch on this topic because I personally have experienced this. $2.13 an hour? $2.13 an hour is how much companies like Darden Restaurants is paying for their employees. In 15 of the states here in the United States, you can pay $2.13. Let me say it again. $2.13 an hour is how much legally Darden Restaurants, a company worth how much? $20 billion? $20 billion is paying their tipped employees only $2 an hour. And their net income over the last year has increased by almost 12%. And their net income right now is $315 million. $315 million. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? What the heck is going on? If you guys working for this kind of company, yeah, it is a tipped wage. Yeah, you do receive tips that probably average out quite a bit higher than that. But regardless, do you understand that whether you're coming in from the perspective of working there for that company, or whether you're coming in from the perspective of coming in there and dining at that company and dining at the restaurants, you are getting scammed. I'm sorry, there's no other way. In the world, there's no such thing like this. You are getting scammed by this company, and everybody is extremely happy by this and thinking that this is normal. This is not normal. This is why the service here in the United States is so horrible, because it puts pressure. It puts pressure on the waiters to make the service, to make sure that they do all things possible to make sure the clients are happy so they can receive the living wage that depends on the people who are arriving there. Not on the company that they're working on, but the people that are arriving there and they're dining there. It does not make sense. Tip, in its own sense, tip is something that is voluntary, that is optional everywhere in the world. And for some reason or the other, here in the United States, we have a system where the United States have agreed, the people here in the United States have agreed, that we're supposed to subsidize. There's no other way. The way to say it, subsidize those companies to make sure that the employees are getting paid a fair wage. This is subsidy. And when you got a company like this that is making record profits left and right every single time and is worth so much, it does not make any sense. It does not make any sense. An average American is spending almost $3,000 a year in dining out on average. $3,000 a year. And we're tipping 20%. That's 20%, that's $600. Okay, which is understandable. Maybe 25%, which at that point, it puts pressure on the customers. So let me start on a customer's perspective, right? So when you dine out, which is a very big expense, it is a very big expense for us altogether that we have to spend on. Some people spend a lot more. And you have to understand, so when you budget things, you have to understand, when you look at a restaurant, when you go to a restaurant, you basically have to, at this point, understand that your 20% or 25%, whatever you're going to tip at, when you look at a bill, that's something that's going to be extra. You have to budget for that. So it's not just going to be $100 a meal. It's going to be $120 a meal, $125 a meal. That's something you have to budget at. Because you are subsidizing this company. It really pisses me off that it happens. And because I was actually a waiter. It does not make any sense. And especially coming in from on abroad and seeing and then traveling after that in different countries and understanding how this does not work anywhere else but just only here. It does not make any sense. Guys, it does not make any sense why this is happening. It blows my mind. It's not supposed to be like this. And more importantly, especially like I said, for me, from actually who worked in and waiting industry, I actually worked in Red Lobster before, it does not make any sense how people are working for $2 an hour. You cannot survive on this. Yeah, there are tips. And it's making the whole industry, making the whole service horrible because of that. Honestly, it makes it horrible. Anywhere else we ever dine in the world, it is actually optional. You don't have a pressure on you because you understand that your waiters are getting paid a fair wage. You understand that your bussers are getting paid a fair wage. You don't understand that your waiters are not required to pay your bussers for the amount that they have to be for to clean out. It is mind-boggling, and that's actually weighs down on the service, on the quality of service here in the United States. Because when you go to a restaurant anywhere else in the world, you understand that tipping is optional. You understand that if you got to receive a good service, you understand that your server is not gonna die, literally die of starvation because their company that they're working for is only paying them $2 an hour. That is horrible. That is horrible. Nowhere else in the world does that. It's insane. And that's why everywhere else in the world you got a proper service. Here in the States, we have encountered multiple times, and it's no fault of the waiter, but it's the fault of the company because it is the idea of let's get this customer in as quickly as possible and let's kick them out as quickly as possible. And if they're not buying something else, they need to buy dessert, they need to buy something else. What is going on? They need to make sure they're buying, because if they're not buying, they need to get their asses out. That is not a service. And again, that is not a waiter's fault. That is the whole system's fault. We need to change something about this, guys. This is ridiculous. It's nowhere else in the world like this. Again, like I said, for the customer coming in there, you have to budget. And as horrible as the system is like that right now, we got to make sure that the waiters actually survive. But more than anything, we need to put some pressure on this because that is unreal. That is not supposed to happen. And now with the dilution of tips, there is a dilution of tips because everybody else in every other industry wants to be at a tip right now. And somebody who just spins a little iPad around wants to get a 20-25% tip. No, because they get a paid fair wage. That is unfair. And because of that effect, now the wage employee, the tipped employee is getting paid $2 an hour. They're getting less tips because the customers are getting tired of getting tips everywhere. And that again is putting pressure on the waiters. So my message to waiters right now, and I'll be upfront as much as possible. My message to waiters right now: you are in a scam. Sorry, you are in a scam. You should not, honestly. You probably, and some people love this. Some people love doing this. But if you're working at companies like, honestly, Darden Restaurants that are making billions of dollars, my God, they're making crazy amount of money, and they're putting records and everything else, and they're going year over year. They're breaking profits, and why? Why? Don't do this. You have other opportunities. Again, like I mentioned in previous videos, here in the United States, maybe part of it is bad, part of it is good. But here in the United States, the priority is to making it by starting your own business and making money that way. Honestly, I'll be upfront with you. Honestly, everywhere else in the world, and especially in developed countries, everywhere else in the world, it makes a lot more sense to make money doing other things and working for other people because you have the protections. You have a proper healthcare system, which is another topic we're going to touch here in this channel. Another topic we're going to touch about healthcare system here. We'll get to that. But right now, we're going to touch on this. Everywhere else in the world, in the developed countries, it makes sense to work for somebody because you're going to have all the protections. Here, working for somebody, especially like this companies like that, does not make sense because you're going to get screwed. It's a trap. It's a trap that you need to get out of. I'm sorry, but that's as plain English as I can possibly make it. The nuances that maybe exist, and that you might be making $20, $25 an hour. Maybe you're lucky somewhere. Maybe you're lucky somewhere they're making $50 an hour. Great. But you gotta understand, this is a scam system. This is not a fair system for you. This is not a fair system for your customers. And you need, honestly, at this point, you need to get out of it, or something needs to be done. Something needs to be done. This is not the right way. This is not the way that things needs to be working. If you guys want to, I will touch a little more deeper on this subject. But in this case, I I'm personally, the reason why I want to touch on this subject, because it personally affected me before. I was a minimum wage employee before. I've had this. I've had to struggle this. And on top of this, I had to go full-time to university. So I can relate to a lot of you guys. And I can relate to a lot of the situation that's happening here in this country. This is, honestly, this is a capitalist society, which is nothing really wrong with this. But there are certain points where you are getting scammed. Literally scammed. And you got better options all around, and you really need to get out. You really need to get out. Like, comment, subscribe. If you guys like this video, I would love to, actually, more than anything, to be at this point, I'd like to see your comments. I'd like to see what you guys want to say about this. Because especially for the people who traveled and see and contrast and can see about what happened everywhere else, where you dine at somewhere else, comment. Primarily comment at this point. That's what I want to see. But like and subscribe as well. That helps this channel. Thank you guys.